We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver on this podcast too. So today we're going to start off with kind of recapping our week.
Yeah, our week.
If you can see us and if we look tired or I mean, I don't know, you're so much younger, you're not going to reflect it like I am. But it's been a week. It started off with like a week ago, Mason started becoming a little symptomatic.
Yay.
Which kind of always throws us into like
Panic
a little
mode.
bit of a panic mode because like it can go either one of two ways. Like it's either going to just get better because it was something that he ate or caught,
Yeah. Or it's going to go into a flare.
It's going to go into a flare. And
which is
so
not good.
we immediately start documenting everything, like every little sign. And so it lasted for about
3 days,
maybe 3 days, 2 to 3 days. And then all of a sudden he was
it
like,
was just better again.
Better.
So it was a little stressful, but
yeah. But the good news is you were able to keep running because we've started running. We do half a mile every day.
Yeah.
And just a quick run through our neighborhood. So he wanted to keep running. So I thought that was a good sign because if you were flaring
and you wouldn't feel like if you were in a bad flare,
yeah,
your joints might hurt and make it so you can't run.
There'll be other signs. And so it stayed pretty moderate. And then we knew his injection was coming up. And so when we went to his injection, we let them know what had happened. And they think that it's just possibly something.
It's a little blip.
Yeah, it's like a little blip, but he's back on track. Thank goodness.
And the other thing is that the infusions got pushed 3 days earlier. So that was a little stressful because it's now on a Saturday instead of the usual Tuesday.
Yeah, so he was supposed to get it. So we're filming this on a Sunday, so he got his infusion yesterday.
Yes.
Typically, we would not be going for another couple days to get this.
Yes, it'd be.
So yeah. So it was a little frustrating. Nothing to do with we have great nurses at Rady's.
It's just the room available.
Yeah, they are doing construction for like the next 5 years on this hospital that we're at. And we were at Rady Children's in San Diego. And so they tore down the old infusion center. And for the past year and a half, they've been like shuttling the kids between different places. And it's been very disruptive. And the nurses have to keep moving everything. The beds have to keep everything
for them.
So they built a temporary permanent center until the new construction is completed. And you'd think that because they know that this IBD is only getting worse, they would build enough beds. And they ended up only 7 beds, I think is what they have.
I think.
And we're talking San Diego, guys. Like
San Diego, the entire
we're
city.
a huge children's hospital. This is where we go. There's a lot of patients. So they couldn't fit Mason in on his normal day. They didn't have room for him. And that was a little frustrating. Annoying. Yeah. So I wish that, sometimes you just feel like the kids get kind of left behind with these infusions. Like, oh, let's just put them here. But there's a lot of thought that needs to go into it. I mean, this is where they spend hours of their day. And, for some, it's a traumatic experience. So anyways, kind of frustrating, but okay. He got his infusion and it went well. And then in really sad news, this is something, I mean, maybe we'll cover on another podcast, but his therapist passed away. And, how do you handle that kind of grief? Because it's not a family member, it's not a friend, but it's someone who's like closer to you than a lot of those people because they know everything.
Yeah.
Jeannie knew everything. She was and it was rough. So it was sad. It was expected. He had let us know, but it was. I mean, I don't think death is ever expected.
No, no.
But there was time she had given us warning that it was, imminent with her diagnosis.
Now, the thing is, Ginny wasn't like any other therapist, you know? She had her own funny character,
Yeah.
and she was always special. So maybe we should write a book about her called Not Your Average Therapist.
Yeah, seriously.
Kevin's gained another angel.
Yeah. It's hard to I guess just to know how to feel, to react. And then now we're going to be on the hunt for a new therapist. Yes. Mason's in a great place right now, but we like to just have something set up
just in case.
Just in case. And so that's kind of the next step. So after all that happened, we're thinking, okay, about the same time we found out she passed away, a fire started up near LA, so about 100 miles away from us. And we had Santa Ana winds. We were hoping it was going to be nothing. Hopefully they could put the fire out. Then all of a sudden there was like multiple fires. And then all of a sudden it was like they were just increasing in size really fast. And it's so that has been a rough week for those people. And I think one of the things like I had put on social media, you'll see it on our IBD Determined page, is that like when I was feeling frustrated that you couldn't get in on time for your infusion.
But there's a lot worse things that are happening.
Like how many people right now lost their injections? Like it burned down in their homes. How many people can't get to their infusion, weren't able to get their infusion, or the stress of this all is going to cause people to flare. So
we don't even have a house anymore.
Yeah, don't have anywhere to go back to. The comfort of that, if you're flaring right now, if you're not feeling well, these people had to flee their homes, and we don't know, all, and not just IBD, any kind of chronic illness, disease, even being sick. So it kind of puts into perspective that, we can have a bad week, we can have frustrations, but these people have like a much bigger problem. Even hurricane victims. This is, not just the wildfires here, but the hurricanes that happen too. So,
it's just crazy when there's a fire and then you don't have water to put it out.
Yeah, scary. And so my hope in all this is somebody is looking at no excuses. Like, let's just figure out
how to fix it.
How to fix it. Like, bottom line is no one needs to worry about, the whole politics of it, arguing about it. Like, let's just figure out how next time do we make sure these are working, because it could happen anywhere. It can happen. We're in Southern California. We have seen many fires, even since you've been born.
It's crazy how large this
just fast. Figure out whatever happened up there. Let's just fix it. Because it's obviously.
How do we fix it? Yeah.
It's going to happen again. Fires can happen here. We're going to have Santa Anas, but how do we make sure our fire hydrants are working and our reservoirs are full? Just all that stuff. I don't want to get to the politics of it. I don't want to blame anybody because we really don't know the answers right now, and we can't really speculate.
The thing is, the water isn't there to put the fires out, So I'm not going to blame the first responders at all. They're trying their best. And if you are a first responder, if you are a firefighter, if you are a sheriff, or if you are an officer, if you are paramedics, if you are in the army, I respect you and thank you so much for what you're doing, because it takes a lot of bravery to sacrifice your life to better the lives of others.
Yeah.
And thank you to Canada for sending their and Mexico for sending their stuff. So thank you so much for
there's so many states that are supporting us that have seen, and I don't want to just start naming them and leave out some, but just know there are several states that I've seen on Facebook where they're driving down, they're helping, and it's incredible.
So states and other countries.
Yeah. It's really crazy that California needs that kind of help. I mean, you don't ever think you're going to live somewhere with how expensive it is to live here. Like, you just never think you're going to need to be in a position where we need to
ask for help. Gotten rain this
We have not gotten rain. No, it's been.
Hopefully we get somewhere.
We were just talking about that today. It still feels like summer.
Yeah, I didn't feel like Christmas even happened. The only reason it felt like that was because of lights, decorations, and music. But other than that, the weather is just.
It's just been sunny. I mean, you would think I mean, it's awesome to have sun, but not environmentally.
It gets a little.
It's monotonous. We would love some rain. We would love it. All I know is I just hope people are taking preventative measures.
Yes.
We're not going to be able to be fully prepared for everything that comes. It's like this. It's like life. You're not going to be prepared for everything that comes your way.
I wasn't prepared for Crohn's disease.
No.
But
if you prepare yourself sometimes for whatever situation, it'll certainly be better. I mean, that's the only way I can look at it. But so all that happened. And, just when we're thinking, wow, what a rotten week this could be. Jason.
Oh yeah.
Jason's dad.
Well, my dad.
Yeah.
He got COVID.
Yeah. So that's been fun. And
which is why we have these.
Yeah, we have our mask sitting right here.
And he's in another room on the other side
isolating.
of the house. Yeah.
Yeah. And
where he sleeps.
Just an FYI for a lot of you guys out there, he took 3 COVID tests to get a positive. He was symptomatic on Thursday. And so Thursday night we had him take a test, negative. And then Friday night we had him take a test, and we thought we could barely see a line, but you had to like really squint. And I even took a picture of my phone and tried to adjust the color to see if like we're actually seeing a line. We really couldn't tell. And so I just kept saying, let's treat it like COVID, no matter what. Just in case.
Should never be too
So we had already started treating it like COVID just in case. And then on the third day, we had him test again, and right away it was COVID, positive. And so frustrating thing is Mason has an infusion yesterday. And so we watched Mason, no fever, no symptoms from him. I was okay. So I was able to take him down to San Diego to get his infusion, thankfully.
It was actually the second time we've ever been down to the hospital without my dad.
Yeah.
Only the second time in 4 years. And the only other time was when he got COVID. Last year on Christmas.
Yeah. And, he works at one of the busiest places on earth. And he does wear a mask. He does take preventive measures.
It's really hard when your dad wears a mask 24/7. So I don't get sick. But then the only place you can eat when you're on a break is inside, where everyone takes their masks off.
Yeah. I mean, and again, we don't know for sure where he caught it.
We don't know for sure, but it's still speculating. That happens.
Yeah. I mean, there
isn't a choice.
We were at the hospital Tuesday. He could have also caught it but so anyways, we're just
oh yeah, and when we're driving down to Righties, just me and her,
oh my gosh.
So with the fires, right?
It's about a 45-minute drive for us to go to the hospital.
45-minute drive. So we left like 10 minutes early.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing great. We got some great time. And then around one of the curves, we see smoke. From a fire. It's black smoke. Not black, but it was more brown.
Black, we're like, dark. Oh,
and no. It looked like from our perspective that it was on the hill. And that would be terrible if it was on the hill, because that's a lot of fuel it could burn. And so we get closer, and it's funny because we were just talking about police, because we saw one drive off the bridge and
we thought he was pulling somebody over. Yeah, turns out I think he was heading to the fire.
To the fire, and it was in the carpool lane,
which is what we were in.
So
we got out of the carpool lane, got back on.
We got back in it
because they had shut it down right in front of us, and then they opened one lane up, so we cut back into the carpool lane and drove by a car fire.
Yeah, but the car was out, which is very impressive how fast they were able to put it out.
Yeah,
because it looked like the fire had just started.
They were on it,
and it was already out.
Yeah,
It was impressive with how fast they got it out. How destroyed the car already was.
Yeah.
It looked like it went for the fuel tank.
It was a Mazda. So.
Was a Mazda.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bad joke.
Yeah. But we made it to the hospital in time.
Yeah.
And
somehow.
Yeah. So that's been our week. I know people out there probably have had way worse weeks. I think the reminder in this is it's not really about like if your week was worse or if ours was. It doesn't. It's just everybody has
Everyone has a problem.
Everyone has something going on.
No one's perfect.
And so I was kind of like, I have been debating, like, should we just have a podcast where we just talk today? But I really wanted to focus on something because we have not addressed steroids. And I really wanted to get to this for some of you, because I know someone listening to this might be on the fence about maybe they're taking steroids, maybe their children are being prescribed these, and you might be wondering more about them. And so I just kind of wanted to cover that. So we're going to cover that now.
Steroids now.
Yeah, we're going to keep it kind of to the point. It's not, we got this. I went to the Mayo Clinic and also to Crohn's and Colitis Foundation to get this information. So I'll include the links for you guys so you can
check it out for yourself.
Yeah. So steroids, one of the funny things I said was, not to be confused with muscle gaining steroids.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine all these IBD people looking like bodybuilders out there?
That'd be really funny.
No,
I know, but they're quite the opposite.
So they're actually, the proper name is corticosteroid.
Okay,
but
cortico.
they've been shortened to refer to them as steroids. So again,
humans are lazy in pronouncing things.
Yeah, it's easy, right? It makes it easy. So not to be confused again with the muscle steroids. Not the same thing at all.
Very different.
And so I think one of the questions, because I think a lot of people, some of these work well for them. They're like, hey, well, why can't I take these forever? Why can't I take like a biologic forever, but I can't take a steroid forever? Why is a steroid given like a
bad name,
a short term? And so some people call them the devil's Tic Tacs or something like that. I know I've one of my friends does, and I saw somebody else say it. So I was like, wow, okay.
Devil's Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's been a while since Mason's been on them. So it's probably hard to remember some of the side effects. You were asked this question at Spire, and I remember thinking, what were all the side effects? But we're going to go over them. So you're going to see if you can remember some of these.
I'm probably not going to remember any of them. But...
So steroids were first offered in the 1950s. They're one of the oldest treatments for IBD.
Remicade.
Okay. Way before.
Yeah.
So they were one of the first lines of defense when you would flare. And I think they've slowly realized over time how damaging they are. So they have now, like nowadays, are used to often like help treat a flare. Like if Mason has used a couple, he was on some while you were on Remicade and was failing. But the steroids did help you.
They did.
But not, again, not beneficial to keep taking them.
No.
So he also became, they call it dependent, steroid dependent. And so then you have to, important to get off of those. And we're going to kind of go into that. But what they do is they help reduce inflammation in the intestines and throughout the body. So you might be treated like if you have uveitis, if you have a problem with your eyes, if you might have to use steroids for those.
Treat those,
some of you may use it for rashes, topical, things like that. But these kind of steroids that we're going to be talking about are the kind that help to reduce the inflammation in the intestines and throughout the body. Interesting number I saw in there. 20 to 30% of patients will not respond to steroids. So are one of you listening? I'd be interested to hear from you.
Do you not
respond to steroids? Because that is not something, I mean, obviously I know some people aren't going to respond to certain things. It's but it seemed like a high number. Because if that was the only way they really used to treat this, like what?
What about the people that couldn't?
Like what happened?
I guess you just aren't gonna have anything to be on.
Interesting, right? I was like, okay, it seems like a high percentage of that will not respond to it. But for the people that do, you'll notice improvement very quickly. So usually within a matter of days. So that's convenient for these because when you are feeling so bad from a flare, I think it's something people are willing to take to feel better.
Yeah.
Right. And
the side effects are fun.
And they did work for you. We know the reason we know they worked is because when we tried to take you off of them,
I was like, well,
you started becoming symptomatic.
My body was like, well, you have to go back on them.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So we had to do a much slower wean over the course of like 4 months. It was much longer, but it worked. And anything faster, he would start to become symptomatic. So that's how we knew for Mason. He responded well to these.
Yeah, because your body becomes addicted to them.
Yeah.
Devil's Tic Tacs.
So I know, isn't that funny? I know it's me too. I was like,
I keep calling them that now.
It was my one friend who said it, Maureen, and she mentioned it. And then I heard someone else mention it. And then I was like, oh, this is a known. I thought I didn't know if she created it, but I've heard it's real. It's funny, but true, man. People don't like these things. People don't, it's like a love-hate relationship with these.
Thank you for making me feel better, but at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? So basically kind of the question here. So if these are successful at reducing inflammation and they're helping treat flares, why not just stay on them?
Yeah, why not just stay on them if they're working so
well?
If
it's working, when you try to come off of them, you get sick and symptomatic. Why not stay on them, right? Seems like convenient. So the thing with steroids, and this is unlike biologics, they don't prevent complications or the progression of the disease. So biologics are more of a maintenance drug. They're going to keep you healthier.
Healthy and fix that.
They are going to attack it differently than the way steroids do. So steroids are not going to slow the progression of the disease, whereas a biologic will. And these also come with a lot of side effects that we're going to talk about. We're going to get to that in a minute. Fun. Yeah, we're going to go over all those.
It's going to be like those commercials.
Oh, yeah.
May include symptoms of.
I know, huh? Well, we should do, we'll film a commercial for steroids. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, talk about just making people feel like, oh my God.
Oh, and I'm on that. Yay.
It'd be interesting, though. This is like off topic, but you made me think of this. Like if you did a commercial showing the side effects of Crohn's disease versus the side effects of what you're taking.
That'd be interesting.
Right? Like if you made it, we should do that. Make a
side
commercial.
effects of the disease versus side effects of the
So if
drugs.
you were to
Which would
watch
you
a
rather take?
commercial for each one, which one
would you rather
have? So that'd be interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Maybe we'll have to do that one of these days. We'll have to,
And you
not
think-
like actually make the commercial, but make the podcast.
No, you can do it.
But we can do that. Okay,
Just
sure.
kidding.
I'll let you write it. How's that? We'll see if it
I'll
actually
animate
happens.
it. I'll animate
Okay.
it somehow.
Um,
I'm learning how to do that.
So they also come with a lot of side effects and risks at long-term use. And they also, what steroids might show is that something like your biologic might not be doing its job. So if you need a biologic while you're taking, or if you need a steroid while you're taking a biologic, it might show that your biologic isn't doing its job because you're not supposed to need to take both. Now, Mason was so severe in the beginning
that I needed
that they were not, because they weren't sure if the Remicade would work. They had him on the steroid. So it was kind of like that backup. Yeah. And so thankfully they had that.
And I still wasn't doing great with the steroids.
No, you definitely were not. It was like, but it did help. It was
better.
But when we say, it definitely
wasn't perfect.
No, but it got you through.
Yes.
That's
the important part.
So I would say there might be some people it's more effective for than it was for Mason even, but he luckily it helped. So let's break down the types of steroids there are, and this is gonna get fun. There's gonna be some if kids are listening.
I see that.
I'm sure they're gonna have some good times with it. But you know what? It's all right. You sometimes you just gotta laugh, and it is what it is.
And break the YouTube AI checking system somehow.
It is what it is. So we're gonna start with some of the steroids that you take orally. So you'll take these as a pill. Maybe they have liquid form too.
That's the first one.
You can also get these. Mason's got them through an IV as well. But these are what you're gonna take typically orally. Yes. So the first one, prednisone, which is what you were on.
I did not like.
Right. That's a very common steroid. So that is something that I'm willing to guess a lot of you listening have at some point been on prednisone. The other one,
if it worked,
is budesonide.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
That's the one they tried to get you on, and our insurance said no. And the reasoning, which I'll explain that in a minute. After I explain these, it'll make more sense. So the first one, Entocort, which is budesonide, but that's one of the names is Entocort. It's a modified steroid. And so what it is, it's absorbed in the small intestine and the colon.
Okay.
And so it's unlike prednisone. Okay, this is why it's unlike it. It's highly metabolized by the liver, which means there's less side effects, risks, and exposure to the entire system. Well, okay, I'm not a doctor. I shouldn't be saying what it is, but what it sounds like to me, it's like a lower dosage. It's because it's modified. It's not like prednisone where it's going to suppress, it's going to expose your entire system to it. So I thought that was interesting because I have heard good things. A lot of people prefer budesonide because it's not as strong as the prednisone for your system. But I think that's why. So it's because it's highly metabolized by the liver. And then there's another budesonide, which is Ulcerative. Okay. So it's the same as the one we just talked about, which is Entocort. The difference is when it's Ulcerative, it is coated.
Okay, so it has a special coat on it.
It does. And that coating protects it until it reaches the colon.
Okay.
So the Ulcerative is more efficient for if you're trying to just treat the colon.
Okay, so the Entocort is better for treating both.
Entocort is like small intestine and colon. Yeah. And Ulcerative.
And then Ulcerative is better for treating colon.
Like if you're having problems with it. Right. And so what happened with you is they wouldn't let you go onto budesonide because they said you needed to have ulcerative colitis.
Oh.
And because that is primarily the colon. And our doctor at the time, she argued with them that, Crohn's patients can have issues with just the colon at that time and need it. And they refused. So we had to go to
kind of bad when insurance doesn't listen to a doctor.
Yeah. So, but that's why they use that example, that reason for you not to get it. And then the other type of steroids.
Yay, cover your ears.
This is where it gets fun for you young listeners. But for most of you who have this, you're going to be like, whatever. I've heard this so many times.
TMI warning.
Yeah. But it's for rectal treatments. So these are specifically designed to target and go directly to the inflammation. And so in areas like the anus, rectum, or your sigmoid colon. Yeah. So, but I mean, really, it's so you don't have to have systemic exposure with these. It goes directly to the source. So that means if you're not getting it through your entire system, taking it like a pill, it's not going to infect the entire body.
It's going to go straight to where it needs.
So there's fewer risks and side effects when you do that. And if, you're wondering, well, what are these lovely treatments? Well, you're in the right place.
You're in the wrong place if you don't want to hear about this, though.
So they are in the form of suppositories, enemas, or rectal foams.
Yeah.
And enemas are actually more effective than a suppository if you need to reach inflammation higher than the rectum. So for some of you listening, you might be like, well, why did I get a suppository, or why did I get an enema? This is why, because they're going, different areas. And then, the rectal foam is actually an improvement for retaining the drug. So it's actually it's very effective. Stuff is good. So not fun things, guys, but they work.
They get the job done.
Yeah, they do. So moving on from that, let's talk about side effects. And
that's the best part.
Right. But most of you are going to be familiar with these. You're probably already in your head going, oh yeah, I know what these are. So let's see. One of the side effects is suppresses the immune system. Okay. So like when you were on prednisone, Remicade, and methotrexate,
that's a lot.
They were all immunosuppressive. Yeah. So this is why, guys, sometimes what bothers me, and I'm going to go off on this in another podcast on invisible diseases, but what bothers me is so many people assume that if you have Crohn's disease, they know all about it, but your treatments can vary. And so
the treatments can make a lot of things different. On top of Crohn's already being very different from everyone else.
Yeah.
Crohn's is different for everyone. And on top of that, the treatments make it different.
Right. So just because somebody who's had it and those people go to a party, you're going to meet somebody who's on 3 different immunosuppressing drugs and they're trying to stay home, wear masks and be very careful. So at different times of the disease, you can be in a totally different state. So you can go from being like, I can't go anywhere, to suddenly being like, oh yeah, I can go out and go do this. Yeah. So
and then people are like, why?
Yeah. So people might think like, oh, that's weird. But sometimes it just depends what you're on at the time.
It just depends what you're doing, what you're on, how your diseases.
And so it can lead, and a suppressed immune system can lead to things like yeast infections and urinary tract infections. One of the types of yeast infections is thrush, which a lot of people can get. Mason did have it, and he just had to have a special mouthwash, and it did take care of it.
Take care of it, yeah.
Luckily, they are, some people it is harder to get rid of, but it is one of the side effects of it, and that is one you had. Also, it's important to remember too, when we talk about this, the risks you're going to get with this, with these steroids
are different.
And it's going to vary too on your dosage and the duration. So like how long you've been using them. So somebody who's just like on a 2-week, small dose of a steroid can be very different than someone who's been on for 6 months at a higher dose, so again, these are all relative. So you have to put that into perspective.
These aren't going to happen to you like no matter what. It's going to depend. It's going to depend.
Yeah. And
talk to your doctor, not us.
The good news is most of the side effects, which, good advice, Mace. But most of the side effects will stop when you do stop taking the steroids.
Good.
But a couple exceptions are things like osteoporosis and cataracts.
Osteoporosis.
I know, which we just covered on our DEXA scans episode.
I wonder if that's going to do with steroids.
It very well could. Because you were steroid dependent. So that's a possibility. So those are the two, but most of the other ones are going to stop. So let's start.
Most likely will stop.
Yeah. And we have 2 different lists. So I'm going to compare them because
there's a lot.
And I'm going to see how many overlap. We're not going to, we're not going to we're just going to try to see. I want to compare what the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation had versus the Mayo Clinic to see if they overlap or if they're different. Some of the risks are high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, cataracts, we just talked about, weight gain. And for some people, that's a positive for who are underweight with this disease. So
it might help boost you a little bit.
Right. Stretch marks, because, remember, you did have some stretch marks. Yeah,
I
you did.
Still do.
You will. I think they stay with you.
So that won't go away.
Yeah. Acne.
Okay.
which is, depending on your age, you're not going to know if you might just think you have a lot more acne but it could be the steroids. And, you did get a couple kind of like little flare-ups on your face when you did start taking it, I believe. And it was kind of weird because I was like, what the heck? Like all of a sudden he's starting to get some acne.
And it actually is starting to look better, isn't it?
Yeah. So
well, I have
now,
one.
well,
I have a patch on right
now
now.
you're 15. So it's like, I mean,
Yeah,
you already have what normal kids have to battle with acne, those kind of things. But
thankfully, we're not on steroids.
And thankfully, right now you're not. But I don't know about biologics and acne. I'd have to look that up.
I don't think so.
It also can be a growth disturbance in children, which we know all about.
That's the stereotypical one that I use.
Yeah, and growth is already an issue with the disease. So one of the more popular ones is rounding of the face,
which is called moon
face, which I do remember someone saying, "Oh, he's got moon face." I was like, "That is rude." I was
mean
like,
of you.
"Yeah," I was like,
we didn't realize it was actually a term.
Yeah, I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh," because his face did change very quickly too.
Yes.
And we got used to it, which is a funny thing is we stopped seeing it. And then when you went off of it, it was like, whoa, look at how different
it actually did look. Yeah.
So we got used to it. But yeah, when I first heard the term
moon face, like, that's kind of rude of you, isn't it?
I was like, that nurse is rude. Who said that? But it's it's a term with it.
Terminology.
Increased facial hair.
Thankfully, I don't get that.
Which, depending who you are, is really bad, or hey, might not be a big deal.
Ladies.
So other things, insomnia, which is like a difficulty sleeping.
I don't think I had that.
I don't know if you did. I'm trying to remember.
I never really had problems sleeping. The only thing that caused me trouble sleeping was waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. But
yeah, did you ever have like a lot of dreams, like bad dreams? I thought anything.
I mean, I just have dreams, but they're always just random chaos.
I remember you saying you like would get woken up a little bit by dreams, but usually you got to go to the bathroom. Yeah. So the other one is mood swings. For some people, this is very obvious. I stay with you. It was hard to know because you were going through so much.
Yeah, it was hard to tell.
I wouldn't have attributed it to steroids. I would have just thought it was a situation if you were, but I didn't really notice anything. And the other one is psychosis and other psychiatric symptoms. That's interesting. And so, yes, and weakened bones.
Yay.
Osteoporosis. And so, part of the other thing with this is steroids. And you might remember this, but steroids can also cause your adrenal glands to slow or stop production of the human steroid, which is cortisol, which we produce on our own. So that's why steroids should not be stopped abruptly.
Because if you just stop them abruptly, your body's gonna
be without it. Yeah. So you should be weaned off them so your body has time to start producing more. So yeah, because it takes time, it says, for the adrenal glands to start producing that cortisol again.
It's not instant.
So for some people, you have to wean off of them. It's safer than like you just don't stop taking them. So that's another well-known thing with prednisone is you don't just stop taking it.
Because then you're gonna have other problems. Now
I'm gonna look through the list. I'm not gonna name all of these, but these are some of the ones that the Mayo Clinic mentioned. They have a buildup of fluid causing swelling in your lower legs. Could be a side effect. They did mention the mood swings, memory, behavior, and other psychological effects such as confusion or delirium. So where it mentions psychosis and other psychological problems, this one
and they also have high blood pressure.
Upset stomach. And weight gain, but they specifically mention in the belly, face, and back of the neck. And then it says if you're taking them by mouth for a longer term, you might experience problem with your eyes, such as glaucoma or cataracts.
Okay, cataracts is there.
They talk about moon face again.
Okay, moon face.
High blood sugar, which they did mention. An increased risk of infections, especially with common bacterial, viral, and fungal microorganisms, which would be because it's a suppression of your immune system.
Yeah, so you're able to get stuff easier.
Bone fractures and thinny bones, which osteoporosis. And then they mentioned fatigue, loss of appetite, which is interesting because a lot of people think steroids increase the appetite.
That is interesting.
But you didn't necessarily have an increase in appetite.
No, I never did.
No, but I don't think you had a loss either. But
no, I didn't have a loss, but I didn't have a
The thing that's funny is you have two completely different things. One says, so anyways, always different sides of it. Nausea and muscle weakness. Your skin could be thinner, more bruising, and have slower wound healing. And again, your immune system is suppressed through that. So that's kind of like the info on
fun side effects
steroids.
of all these interesting
Yeah, so
things.
kind of what they are, what some of the side effects are. Obviously, the most positive side effect is that they will help you
Yes,
get
they'll
through a
help
flare.
you. They'll help you, but you don't want to be them on.
Right.
You don't want to be on them for a long time.
Right. I do think they're trying to find other alternatives to treating, so you don't have to go through all of this. But there is a reason they've been used, a reason why they were so popular, and they did help a lot of people. But most of you have probably experienced, you go on steroids and it's like, oh my gosh.
No.
But again, it's like you're weighing like the two evils. What is
Would
worse?
you rather have the side effects of Crohn's disease, or would you rather have the side effects of treatments, steroids, whatever that,
So it's important to kind of, obviously your doctor will help you weigh that. And if your doctor is recommending steroids, they've obviously already weighed it and think that this is necessary. But
and if you don't like what your doctor is thinking, you can always get a second opinion.
It's important to do that too, because I will see, like, it's so interesting how different it seems like the doctors can be with this disease, the different methods they take, the different thought processes. So if you do feel like, you want a second opinion on these in either direction, maybe talk with your doctor first. I mean, obviously don't assume the worst. Talk with them, see if you can get your questions answered. If you still feel like you're not being heard or you're not getting a good answer, or you want a second opinion for peace of mind, do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, steroids aren't like biologics where it's like a lifelong thing. It's
there's a lot of other things that can come out of them.
Yeah. So hopefully this kind of helped. And I know we had a long intro going into this to talk about our week, but we we figured just sharing, because I think sometimes it's like you don't always want to be like, well, everything's been great the past 2 weeks and everything is perfect.
Happy mask,
yes.
just keep it real, man.
I mean, we don't have to be all like sad,
terrible week. No,
right. But it's like, it is what it is. And you will have bad days. Things are gonna go wrong. And you just get through it.
Find the silver outline.
Yeah. Silver lining.
Silver lining. Yeah, the silver lining. I
Is
got
that the same thing though?
Silver lining. The
silver outline. It's the same thing though.
I just came up with the what is it called when you have Stellaire and then you have the other version of it?
No, the biosimilar.
I came up with the biosimilar version.
Like maybe it is
silver outline.
Because silver lining is clouds, right? Like the lining, like on. And so it's like the outline, maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing.
Out.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, maybe we have an entire
job.
podcast on grammar.
I know. We'll have to do something like that. So anyways, that's what's going on. We'll probably talk to you. We're going to have a meeting soon with the American Institute of Colon and Rectal Surgeons. I think it's anyways, it's an incredible honor Mason is about to receive, and I don't think we've ever been so happy to talk to surgeons in our entire lives. Like it's going to be a room full of the best surgeons from across America, and Mason has an opportunity that is incredible. Right. And but I don't want to talk too much about this until we have more information. We have our meeting with them, and I don't want to misquote or misspeak, but at any rate, it's exciting. So that is good news. That was so there was some really good news. There is
some good news. The silver outlining.
Yeah, there it is.
Put them together.
So and you guys can follow along and see how it's been going for us on our Instagram page at Team IB Determined. You can also go to the Reggie Project and give us a follow there and share your pictures with Reggie. You can download a copy of him and take your own pictures. And you can also listen to us on any podcast station like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Music.
And there's a link to more podcast stations on Buzzsprout, which will be linked in the description.
Yes.
And then there's also YouTube podcasts, which are newer. And they're kind of getting older now.
I know. Pretty soon.
I keep saying they're new, but
people are like, it's new.
They're here last year.
Yeah.
But there's YouTube podcasts if you want to listen to us on that. But if you want to see us and listen to us, there's YouTube videos. And if you are on YouTube at all, just make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, make sure to hit that bell icon, and please leave some comments. We love getting your feedback and whatever, just saying hi or what brought you here.
Ideas of things to talk about that could help you guys out, things you like us to mention, because chances are we understand. Either Mason's going to get it from a patient standpoint, or I'll understand from a parent caregiver standpoint. So if there's anything else we can talk about to help you out, even if you're feeling, I think a lot of people, especially this time of the year, it's a tough time for a lot of people for multiple reasons. So if you're kind of feeling like you want to just like give a shout out, say hi, you want us to say hi, and let us know.
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah.
And just don't be mean, the world doesn't need more aggression or
yeah, keep it yourself.
just keep it to yourself.
Stop listening. You don't need to be mean. But let us know. Yeah,
Yes,
if there's something we can talk about or further help you guys understand, let us know. We're happy to do it. So with that,
really quick, I want to say we should respect our first responders, give them a helping hand, understand that they're trying their hardest. And those who have lost their homes, I'm very sorry for you, and I hope the best for you. And hopefully this will get better in the future. So
yeah. So feel the same way, and hopefully in 2 weeks when we come back,
it'll be better.
It'll be better. I'm sure the fires at that time better be out. I hope there is just good weather ahead for all of us to help everybody out in the state.
And they can try their best,
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.